Notes from the Quiet Corner, a biography of Mama Lawson, written by Mama Lawson. Chapter 1, The Hand in the Surf. I don't remember a lot about my childhood. I think my brain has probably blocked some of it out as an act of protection, because the reality of my early life was often extremely traumatic. But through the fog of what is lost, one memory remains perfectly preserved. It is my very first, the day my father saved me from the ocean. I came from a big family, 8 kids in total. I was number 7, the baby girl of the bunch. In a house that full, you'd think there was always somebody to talk to, but I was often alone. My older sisters didn't want to play with a toddler, and my brothers were busy doing boy things. So I existed in the quiet spaces between them. We didn't have much money. My dad was in the military and my mom was a school teacher. So our luxuries were simple. One of those luxuries was going to the beach. My dad used to take us to the California coast because in those days, it was one of the few places where we could go as Black Americans and be truly free. I can still hear his voice, deeply and steady. "Don't you ever go out in that ocean by yourself." But I saw my older brothers and sisters playing in the surf, and I wanted that freedom too. So that day I walked until the sand slipped away from my feet and the current began to drag me down. Just as the water was about to claim me, I felt a massive hand grab me and pull me close. It was my dad. He was always my safety net, my hero, and the man who made me feel like the world was a place that I could survive. The hero in the house. My father was a dedicated family man. He filled our home with life, leading us in games of hide and seek and epic pillow fights. My mother was a strict Catholic, and though my father wasn't, he did respect her devotion. And every weekend, he'd gather up the whole troop of us for Mass. He'd check and make sure that we were dressed appropriately and that we had brushed our teeth. And then he'd press a little bit of money into our small palms to put in the collection plate, ensuring that we understood the value of giving. The best part, however, was always the homecoming. My dad would have a massive meal waiting for us every single time. And at the end of the meal, Cracker Jacks. That was my favorite dessert growing up. And to this day, the smell of popcorn is my ultimate comfort food. It carries the weight of those pleasant and safe memories. My father was a man who gave up everything for his family. I remember my mom nagging him about his smoking and drinking, worried about the example it would set for us. And without a word of complaint, he just stopped. He gave it up for us. Even today, when I pass a cigar shop and catch that rich, earthy scent of pipe tobacco, I linger. That smell is the smell of my father. It's the smell of a man who stood on the front lines of the civil rights movement, a man who dedicated his life to helping Black Americans feel like they belonged in their own country. The night the world split. When I was 7, my father had left the military to become a teacher and a missionary. He was a high school teacher who truly loved his students. 6 months prior to his death, he'd been playing basketball when a student accidentally kicked him hard in the shin while trying to block a shot. It resulted in a cast, but when that cast came off, a blood clot had formed. Later, we found out the truth of what happened in that hospital. A simple shot would have dissolved the clot and would have saved him, but the doctor refused to give it. He didn't like the color of my father's skin, and he chose to let a great man die. I remember the phone call in the middle of the night. My father gasping, calling my mother from his hospital bed. "Help me, help me, help me." My mother was caught in the shock of the movement, could only respond with, "God bless you. God bless you." She didn't go to the hospital, and by morning, he was gone. The impact he had on the world was so vast that no church could hold his funeral. We had to hold it in a school gymnasium. It was packed to the rafters with people whose lives he had touched. And for a 7-year-old girl, it was the end of the world. My hero was gone. My safety net had been cut. The departure. My father's family in Wisconsin, Waukesha and Milwaukee, pleaded with my mother to move all of us closer so they could help care for the children. But my mother was a stubborn woman. She had 5 degrees and a fierce sense of independence, and she decided that we were moving back to California. She had just got hired for a teaching job. I remember the day we left. We packed all our lives into a station wagon, a vehicle that used to be filled with laughter, but now felt hollow. And as the last suitcase was shoved in and the trunk slammed shut, the sky turned a bruised and heavy gray. As we pulled out of the driveway, the first fat drops of rain began to hit the windshield. Slow at first, then turning into a downpour that blurred the world behind us. The rain didn't stop until we crossed that state line, and by then, I knew nothing would ever be the same again. I looked out that back window at the house where I had once been the protected baby of the family, the girl with the hero father. Now I was just number 7 in a line of kids heading toward a dark forest in the mountains, leaving the only man who ever truly respected me and protected me and loved me in a grave in the Wisconsin soil.